Hi, I'm Pat Lynch Barrett at Women's Radio 2 now, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm leaving my glasses on today. I just want you to know I'm doing that deliberately because I have such a special guest that I want to make sure that I use all the right words. So, in order to see them on the page, I need my glasses. So, I hope you'll forgive me this one time. I have not only a very special guest, but a very dear friend. And we were just counting up the years that we have known each other. And I've actually known Sharon since before some of the things she's going to tell you about. And she has always, always been a dear, dear friend, always. And I'm not sure how anyone else would calculate that or how they would rate that, but that rate's extremely high in my book. And especially when someone comes back and gives me some amazing gifts. And I'm asking her to be here today so that you can get a taste of that and then get more if you like it. So let me tell you that uh, it's totally my heart's delight to be able to have Sharon Riegie Maynard, my good friend, and truly unique, truly a unique person. And before I give Sharon the stage, I hope some in our audience are excited and others are at least curious about what Sharon is teaching. Uh, so being curious is certainly part of the work down here on planet Earth that helps us in expanding, which is part of our mission to be down here, expand, have a good time, et cetera, and do good work and help other folks. Well, what stirred your curiosity, Sharon? How can we let these people in on your path and what you are attempting to now help teach people? I know a lot of it is about healing. You have done some very incredible healing work that I know about, and you have practiced something before called tag healing. Now you've expanded that. So is that a good place to start?
That's a good place to start because
Okay, great.
yeah, all of us start wherever we start. And I started from a patriarchal religious system that fit well for me. I didn't know that I was subtly limited. So I was in a patriarchal system until I think I was just about 30. So it was in 1971 when my husband, who is the one who is supposed to hear God or Heavenly Father or he was supposed to get messages to, to tell his family, me, what to do. And I was just supposed to sit back and get that from him, right? That's where I started. And I was fine. I was fine. But he had a friend come and say, I have a method so you can hear from Heavenly Father so you get correct messages. So as I'm serving them pie and ice cream after dinner, my curiosity and my ears, I just slowly, slowly listen to the method. The method was this. You find a time when you can have maybe an hour where you're not going to be interrupted. Now, mind you, I had 7 children pregnant with I had 5 children pregnant with number six. And so being interrupted was on my schedule all the time. So at time when you have an hour where you're not interrupted, everybody's doing their thing, and you go into your own quiet bedrooms where I went, take a breath, close the door, maybe read some scriptures, get your mind shifted out of the day. This will be familiar to some. And then you talk to Heavenly Father God and say this, whatever it is you need to say to get your mind clear again. Then you have a paper, a notebook, and a pen. And you, after you've gotten your mind clear, you ask one question. And then you just be still and listen for the thoughts. curious. Now, mind you, had I been taught to be fearful, I would have never done that because it wasn't my job to do it. That's going against that men are the only ones. So I was curious, but I wasn't fearful. It didn't even occur to me that I might be doing something wrong. So I found the time, went into my bedroom. Everybody's asleep, school or work. I have my paper, my pencil. I have one question. I am careful that the question relates to raising children because I know that's my job. Question, raising children. Don't remember what it was, 71. Did my thing, got quiet, asked a question, pen in hand, waiting, like waiting for the phone for somebody on the other end. That's what it was like. Woo, when those words started rolling through my mind like thoughts, I kept left brain to the side, no editing, and just wrote. The words came so quickly that I could hardly write fast enough. So 2 or 3 pages, no more words. 2 or 3 pages, no more words. Wow, that was interesting. So then I read through the words. Wow, I don't know where that wisdom came from because I had not thought about it, but there was really great value there. Because nobody was teaching me. I couldn't say to my husband, can you teach me? I couldn't go to my church leaders and say, is this correct? I couldn't. So I had to just devise a system of seeing if it's correct or if it's something I ought to be doing. And all of this is important for anybody because it's our right, everyone, to get information. So I used a couple of current, what I was able to in that mindset, in that box story. I said, I read the information. I used Christ, Jesus Christ, as the criteria. Would these be words I would think he would say? Would this create love? Would these words, if I applied them, bring greater love? So I used that as my discernment when I began. Right off the bat, what I know now is I am extremely telepathic. I don't get the pictures. I don't get the symbols. I don't get I do get feelings, chills sometimes, but very telepathic. So any question I had, I would ask the question, the words would be there solidly. And I eventually asked, and for me, it didn't really matter what name was associated with the information, but I just thought I should have a name. And so the name I was given, as far as where's this information coming from, the name was, this is coming from Christ, Sananda. Okay, that's good enough for me. So that's where I started. And that was in 71. I only used that to raise my kids. I was careful. Didn't work for my husband, by the way, but it worked for me. And in 1975, which was that 4 years later, my husband was killed in a car accident. We had his funeral the day before my 8th child was born. So I was left with it as a widow with 8 children under 13 to raise on my own. You see?
Good grief, Charlie
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
So in 75, this, what I called my partner there, my board of directors voice, became so critically important because a woman with 8 children in my religious community was, you just got kind of pushed to the side. That's not someone anybody's going to take under their wing. There was no women in my world that said, this is how you build a business. This is how you be on your own. I couldn't get credit cards. I could, So the reliable voice I had from 71 to today was that voice identifying initially called Christ Sananda. So it was not difficult for me. I did not have to worry. It was curiosity. I tried it on and it worked. And I think that's key to how life can be. We take an idea and we try it on. If it works for us, we try it again. If it works for us, we try it again. If it doesn't work for us, then we just put it to the side. You see?
I think what you've just done is given perhaps the clearest explanation of how to tune in and listen of any I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People just don't believe that they can do it, or it's not real, or any number of other things. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I know from the many talks that we've had when you have also tuned in for me, because I don't. Um, I think somebody generally has to shout at me to get my attention.
Yeah,
So
we haven't
I probably need to practice more, huh?
we haven't been taught. Here we are. We call ourselves souls beyond the body. Most people believe that, or at least hope, that there is a life in the body, that when the body dies, the life goes on, because the identity of soul, or some people say star beings, it doesn't matter the name, there's a life force in the body, and that life force can interpret energy in ways that the body cannot. And yet, in our developed world, we have not continued to teach our children and ourselves how to get that expansive information and help that's all around us all the time in safe ways. So one of the things I teach at the beginning of every class, I teach no classes without first, how to stay safely connected and build a relationship with who is waiting for you, because there are teachers, guides, every one of us have. They came with us. They are in bodies unseen, and those of integrity will not push, interfere, demand. They will wait for your request and interaction. And that's what one of the things I teach is, how do we do that?
I know you're very careful to make sure that people are feeling safe, that
Absolutely.
you do things, and that you give people ways of doing things actually, so that they do feel safe. I really think that's so important, because I think that anytime you're you're venturing out into unexplored territory for us, which would be, well, what is spirit really like? What can you do? Have you ever had this experience or that? And I've been lucky. A lot of the experiences I've had, I fortunately wasn't afraid uh, of having them, and they were extraordinary and they were fun. So, but in the past 2 years, the kinds of experiences I've had were not fun, and they were largely from people who, on the outside, who were trying to do me in one way or another. And I began to see, Sharon, that I am probably a lot more trusting than I think, and that I need to be more aware and more careful, like you are. I think you're very careful yourself, but you're also very careful with the people that you're teaching, that they learn how to be safe, how to protect themselves, etc. I think that's really important. And where people don't really speak those words, I think they think those thoughts.
Yes. One of the things I've discovered through again, my information that I teach came from those guides and teachers from the other side, because having what was available on the planet in books, lectures, YouTubes wasn't enough. It wasn't doing the freedom, bringing people to freedom and to their life of expansion that I wanted to be able to do. And so having when you open up to anything in life, for sure, but in the unseen world, for sure, because names mean nothing. Somebody can say, this is ascended master, this is this is whatever your name. That means nothing, because you don't know, you can't even see So having ways to discern, and what I've seen is the one really big piece of missing element for those of us in female bodies is our discernment has been cut off. It's almost like we have been so service oriented, so empathy oriented, so help you oriented, that we leave ourselves open to those people who take advantage, and pathological relationships do
I think
that.
that's true. I think
And
that's
so,
true.
a study's been done by a good friend of mine, Sandra Brown, and leader in pathological relationships. And she did a study, why our women keep going back and back and back. And the commonality around all of them was an overactive, empathetic nature, no discernment. You have a need, I'll fix it. You have a need, I'll fix it. It's my fault. And it's an overactive, empathetic. And so discernment into the unseen world is really critical. And there was a time when I'd been doing this kind of work, because when I'm working with a person in session, doing healing sessions, I ask in the unseen, their unseen teachers, my teams, what do we need to do for this person? And so making sure their information is coming as well as my information is coming. And at first, like I started doing healing work in 89, actually. And so I'd been doing healing work from 89 with people I had no idea who they were. So it wasn't that I knew them, but I'd get information and I would always say, man, that's right on. Oh, that's right on. And it was just like almost surprised me that it was right on, because I don't know who they are. And like you say, you get this information and is it you have to speak it. And it's a little walk of trust and faith. So you've got to have very good relationship building here with those in the unseen. I think it was like 16 years later, I had worked with this a woman who had a sugar daddy. He owned almost the entire state in one of the Western states, very politically, very active. And so she wanted him to have a session with me. And I had no idea who he was. I had no idea how energetic, spiritual he was. But I did the session. I told him the information. We did some unraveling, some healing, etc. And then I went back to my home in Utah at the time. And she called me and she said to me, he was so super impressed. You were so right on. He has just found openings in ways he didn't even know would happen, that kind of thing. And I get off the phone, because it's not me, I don't know. I get off the phone and I say and when you've created a relationship with somebody unseen, they are with you. They are with you. So I'm hanging up the phone and I kind of in my mind say to Sananda, you guys are so good, because that's where it came from. And I heard a laugh. And he said, it's about time you figured that out. So it's not that I knew right off the bat, but I was willing to try it on and it worked, which brings up another example, I think. So I had been working with spiritual guides in relationship to being a widow, raising children, where do we need to be, etc., from 75 until about 84. About 84, I moved to Boise, Idaho, because I was said that you need something in Boise, Idaho. So moved the family to Boise, Idaho.
Hey, kids and you. Wow.
Yeah, all the kids. We were just trekked up there. Now, understand, at this time, I'm still in my religion of my birth. So I'm doing this contrary work over here, getting my own information while still attending church with my family. So I get up to Boise, Idaho, and I find myself in a workshop presented at a little church of religious science. And most people will know that's a metaphysical church, meaning there's mindset involved in how your life unfolds.
Mhm.
Wasn't what I thought. God told me, right? So I don't know. It was all about money, finance, how you could be more abundant. And a widow, no insurance, little children to take care of. I mean, finances that was a big deal. So I was going to go to this all-day workshop. I get to the workshop, they have us do what we do, and then they give you a paper. You write on the from this paper, what would abundance look like? If you were abundant, what would it look like? And you write it down. I knew what that would look like. I'd pay my bills on time, for example. Turn it over. Why aren't you abundant? Oh, I knew that too. Wrote it down. These people I'd never met before. And so when they ask for feedback, what's your answer? What's your answer? What's your answer? I felt very confident in giving the feedback as to why I was not financially abundant. Now, understand, I'm coming from a religion where it's really important that you look good, that you do it right. So, but I've got the right answer, so I feel comfortable. So they call on me. Why don't you have financial abundance? Well, I knew why. God hasn't told me it's time, because that's my religion. God gives you something to do, you do it. God will tell you what to do, you obey. That's all. So God hasn't told me it's time. Now remember, I'm not talking to God. I'm talking to Sananda Christ about kids. So it was in perfect alignment. In my religious, if I would have been in a religious class with my church, they would have patted me on the head and say, you are doing so good. Suffer. You are doing so good. You are so strong. They would have agreed with me. So I stood up, I said my answer. One voice, I don't even know who said it, it was a male voice. Somebody in the class said, what God are you talking about? And the young woman college who was helping to facilitate the class laughed at me out loud. Totally laughed at me. What God are you talking about? Never met these people in my life. Now, because I have a curious gene, I didn't get angry. I could have gotten angry to defend my position because it was a new idea for me. But I didn't get angry. I stayed curious. And that's when I learned about affirmations. Hello. And I went, oh my gosh, I can participate in how my life goes. It's not God only. I can make affirmations. That was in 84, 83, 84, I think. And a fellow who gave the workshop, he started having little talks here and there. He was from Boise State University. And I would go to listen to his talks. I tell you, Pat, I could not understand anything he was talking about. It was so beyond my comprehension. I was curious, but beyond that, there was something in me that said, this is important. This information is important. So I'd go to the next time. I don't know what in the heck you're saying. I don't know how it fits, because it didn't. Something in this is important. When I left Boise 2 years later, and we went and had lunch with him. He's a dear friend, became a dear friend. And I sat with him and I said, you know what's scary to me? He laughed. He said, what? I said, I understand what you're talking about now. I learned by being curious, by following where I felt to be, by listening. I didn't even know enough to ask questions at first. There was no way I could have said, but I couldn't have done that. I had to just sit, hear the information, and something in me said, this is important. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of people may be right now, because their world has been so shaken with what they've believed and what their stories have said. And then it's not working that way anymore.
That's right. And I think we must be on the verge of some breakthrough. I'd like to believe that. But I also want to point out something that maybe the audience has picked up on. Um, Sharon has primarily taught with women in the work that she's done. I have a bit, is that changing some now? Are you also attracting some men that really want to participate?
The reason is intentional because as I ask more information of why are we here, I mean, most people wonder, why are we here? And when I would apply, we're here to learn. Well, first I was told we were here to obey. That was false. Well, we're here to learn. When you learn enough, you don't have to come back. I learned that was false. That's not why we're here. Why we're here is a very different, much richer, more important thing. And women are key. Women were intended to be the leaders, not the nurturers. Men are the nurturers. Women are the leaders.
Completely opposite of what
Totally
we all think or have been taught.
Yeah. And so in today's world, people are saying let's balance male, female, but that's not correct because they're trying to balance women nurturing, male assertive. That's wrong. We have to get back to correct first, and then it balances naturally. So for me, it's women have been so crippled, so discounted, so targeted from the beginning. And I believe we came onto the planet 600,000 years ago. I believe that. So, we've been crushed as women for almost the entire time. So for me, helping women understand their role, break free of that. That's why sovereignty is critical. Women were intended to create communities, families, and worlds that were designed by women, souls in female bodies, that would bring good, would bring benefits, and set policy for that. We haven't been allowed to do that.
And in some cultures, they did.
In some cultures, they did.
But not very much.
Yeah. And so for me, until women could be restored to their place and authority, there was no men had to just kind of stay where they were because we're the ones who were to set the policies that kept everybody safe. That's not the men's job.
Well,
So
I think it's interesting, Sharon, that the things that you have gotten and learned really, I believe, have put an underscore under the things I was given to do. Because and I think you probably have known that. So the mandate I was given was to give women a larger voice, because not until they got that larger voice could we hope to pull things back together in a constructive way with men.
Yeah.
And now, having learned a lot more from you of late, and that I can really see why that has been true. Why, and I love what I do, by the way, just in case anybody didn't get that. And I just love doing women's radio, and now the new channel and our channel on YouTube, and love bringing people like you to introduce to the audience that comes, and who I also consider to be friends, and so that we can expand our knowledge, expand our experiences, help to turn things around a lot faster. And I think that when we do get things in right order, it's going to be so much easier, so much easier. So I can't even focus on what's not working. Lately, I just can't have anything to do with what's not working, or people that want to insist their point of view is right about just about everything, and just try and find the right path for me. And I think that a lot of people are in the same place. They want to find the path for them.
Right. The value of for me, I'll say for me, the value for me of learning over these last many years. And Sananda said to me, and he's still here, he said, there will come a time when you will be so grateful for that you have had years to learn what we're teaching you, because there's going to come a time when people will have to learn it more quickly, where you have taken 30, 35 years, they're going to learn quickly. The key to that's making a huge difference comes from what I call the corrected chakra system. The DNA was crippled, the chakra system was crippled. So we are working under 2 strands of DNA, survive and procreate, and we're working under a crippled system which has unplugged the power voice of women and unplugged the heart chakra of men. So when Christ was here, he was trying to keep that heart of that love of heart, that's the male power. That was his mission. The power of the solar plexus, the voice of discernment, and then authority to keep things safe was unplugged for women. And that's now being plugged in, as it's been, we've been working on. That's what is the major focus of our work, not just healing, small things, but ultimately healing this whole corrupted and crippled systems that we've been in. So we are now using the power of the women in my group, because I can't, everyone else is doing what they're doing that's important. We're now using that authority voice of the women in my groups to correct the chakras in the men. So now that is the beginning. We are beginning that work about 2 months ago. So in the galactic, and I call it the galactic landscape, the system is the TAG galactic system, typical education. In that galactic landscape, it's a creative storyboard or a game board, and all the various roles that people are drawn to, like you go down, what is the book we want to share? That is a little bit different role than one of my roles is to eliminate anything that would stop you or crush you or co-opt you, to get rid of that energies that have crushed women. That's one of my roles. So on the galactic board, either it's a personal person with healing their own personal issues, or family or community or world. There are many, many roles that make the entirety work. And not everybody has to do the role I do. Not everyone has to do the role you do. But we're in a place, because of that voice of authority of women, keeping us safe with showing our light, that we can now begin to bring our light forward, especially as women, and say, you will not crush us. Absolutely, we will stand united together, and no one will crush us. That's very unique in all of our history on the planet. So we live in an incredible time.
We do. And can you imagine my joy at knowing you for this long, and then being able to introduce you to our audience? And I know that you want to invite people who really feel drawn, where they've heard this explanations and so forth, where they really they're curious and they want to know more. So you're now about to do some workshops. I think you have a free one coming along, and then you have a series of workshops that you're going to be giving soon. So just tell us a little bit, because I believe that we're going to see if we can manage the time, have you come back and then tell us more about the workshops, but just give people a taste off the ice cream cone.
Okay. Yes, I'm beginning my first workshop of 2025 on the 16th of January. We'll have the information for that. That's a free one. And that is going to be the galactic landscape. Who wants to help make the world different? How can we play together? Here's some different roles. Here's some bigger information. And it's kind of a bigger overview of what it is we're about why we're here, who, etc. That's on the 16th. And then that will be an ongoing year-long, because it's a working together movement, using all of our various gifts. I have I haven't yet, but I will begin a basic healing course, and that might be more like in February, for those who want to apply new information to personal sessions, themselves or others. And I have a project that I'm really all fitting under this year, and it's called Waking Women Moving Mountains.com.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
And it comes from the old Chinese saying that says, when sleeping women wake, mountains will move. So we've heard of long, we've heard of the indigenous tribes, grandmothers are going to change the world, Western women are going to change the world. No, sleeping women, waking up, waking women, moving mountains. And so, you know, there's going to be a lot going on. And I always do free conversations if people want to just call me and say, this is what's going on. And I can say, okay, well, here's options from what I can bring to the table, knowing that what I bring is what I bring. And it's not, there's no magic key. I want to be very clear. There is no magic key. We need this and this and this. And some people are a 500-piece puzzle and they need four processes and everything works. Right. Some are 1,500-piece puzzles and they work intensely just to keep their life together. And why is that? You know, we talk about that in class. So
there's a lot more coming, folks. I'm just so pleased that Sharon had time, and we squeezed this in so that we could get it out to you guys as quickly as we could, so you can prepare. If this is something that really speaks to you, this is quite literally the golden opportunity. And I know, or I feel like a lot of people are going to say, well, I don't know, I've never thought about those things before, but I can hear everything she's saying. And I'm one of those people. At any rate, we're gonna look forward to your coming back. And people in the audience, you know, if you've got questions, feel free to write us. You can write womensradio@gmail.com. And also go on to our social media and write us a letter and let us know what questions you really have. What would you like to know? Or what if Sharon, you thought there's some other things that Sharon could explain, you know, and that you wanted to hear more about it. Do things like that. And then Sharon, I look forward to your coming back. Probably, when is your free workshop? We'll do it before then.
Yeah, January 16th.
Okay. So we'll figure that part out, and then we'll get it right up, and then probably an additional time so that we can tell people about the long-term workshops that you're going to be doing.
Right. You know what? Once they go to your YouTube, you know, your YouTube channel has comments, right? I mean, they can put
yes, absolutely.
Yes, on your YouTube channel too.
Well, you're just such a gift, Sharon. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the things that you're doing. I appreciate knowing you and calling you a friend. And I'm sure that people are beginning to get a clue about how amazing the information is going to be and how we can use it to truly make the planet happy, safe, a place that everyone can enjoy being in without conflict. There are wonderful other ways, and I think we're just beginning to learn them. So let me thank you so much for taking time.
Well, it's been fun. It's always fun spending time with Pat. So it's my pleasure to be here with you and to be introduced to your audience. I'm pleased about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you again real soon.